guys, Andy here. So Pixel time of year is always a bit of an exciting time of year. That excitement was spoiled a little bit, I feel, this year by the leaks. And in fact, there weren't even leaks in the end. They were Google just going, yeah, this is our next phone. So when the Made by Google event came around 2 or 3 weeks back, it was kind of a bit of a, I don't know, underwhelming experience, I suppose, is the best way to put it. I was still excited for the device. And having tried the Pixel 3a earlier in the year, the smaller form factor, because I was getting it for my mum, I was actually really looking forward to going with the smaller device, which is why I did go with the Pixel 4. I also kind of thought, well, you've got to go the oh so orange, surely. But it's weird, it's kind of a salmony colour rather than an orange, I would have said. So I'm not sure it is oh so orange. The box does a good job of replicating that colour. That's one of the first things to point out. Some people are disappointed there's no earbuds in the box. Go and watch the unboxing if you want to see everything's in the box, but there's no earbuds and there's no adapter for USB-C to 3.5mm. Personally, it doesn't bother me. I've been on Bluetooth probably for about 4 years now. I've not really plugged headphones into a phone in about 4 years, maybe once or twice, maybe. But so I think it's probably best that they just leave it out. And this is the first time I've gone with a smaller form factor. I look back, I think it was the Nexus 5. So I'm from the Nexus 5 to the Nexus 6, to the Nexus 6P, to the Note 5, to the Pixel XL, Pixel 2 XL, Galaxy Note 9, Huawei Mate 20 Pro, OnePlus 7 Pro, to the Pixel 4. So we talk a little bit about the design. It seems to be kind of Marmite-y perhaps, so I love the design. I think it's a gorgeous looking phone. I do like the simplistic sort of slabo phone type designs like this. It's 162 grams, it's 8.2 millimeters thick, which is not neither the lightest or the thinnest, but it does feel good in the hand. It feels a solid device, it feels a quality device, I think. Strangely, I think Pixel are the only devices where the volume rocker is below the power. Actually, when you start getting the hang of that, it's not bad, actually. I'm kind of used to it and don't mind it now that I can reach up for the volume a bit easier, and it's just if I need to turn off and lock that I've got to reach it that bit further. Now, the next kind of obvious thing, there's no fingerprint sensor. Now, you might be thinking, oh, it's in-screen fingerprint sensor. No, this is entirely Face ID and Face Unlock, which again has put a lot of people off. I don't know if they don't have the faith in the Face ID. It's not as quick. And if we jump ahead, because I think I'm going to talk about the Face ID later, it is very quick. I just don't think it's as quick as a fingerprint sensor. So if you're reaching to get your phone out of your pocket, with a fingerprint sensor, your finger's probably on the fingerprint sensor and you come up and you're already operating it almost. With the Pixel 4, I mean, that's unlocked, so it's not slow, it's quick, and it's really reliable. I've hardly had any issues with it. The only time really it wouldn't unlock it was when I was cycling on Sunday morning, and it's so cold now, I do have to wear my balaclava. I'm not sure even my mother would recognise me, so I can forgive the Face ID for not recognising me. The next thing you will notice, I mean, you probably guessed because I've already explained there was no adapter in the box, but there's no 3.5mm jack. You almost expect that now with high-end devices, right or wrong. It's IP68 dust and water resistant, which is up to 1.5 meters for 30 minutes. So that's good news. And then if we talk about the hardware, this is where, so there's a lot of hate for the Pixel 4 after its announcement. A lot of hate, I think, from Android fans and Pixel fans and maybe Nexus fans that just felt that Google let them down because it didn't punch big, punch high up there with Samsung and the others. So for example, we're rocking the Snapdragon 855, not the 855 Plus. Does it matter? So yes, we're going to talk about all these specs. So it's only got 6 gig of RAM. That really upsets some people. It's still 2 gig more than it had last year. That really upset people. 4 gig. It's got an octa-core processor. It's got a Juno 640. All of that scores 10,067 on Geekbench 4, which is plenty. That really is. And that's my point. My sort of issue. My point would be, it's about how smooth the device is. You can take a Samsung with its 85 5 plus 12 gig of RAM and whatever else you might have in it. If it's not as smooth as my Pixel 4, I think it's meaningless, isn't it? Isn't the whole point that your device is smooth? Maybe I don't play a lot of games. I played a bit of Mario Kart Tour. That's about it. That runs fine. So maybe Samsung's reach a different level when you're really pushing it with some of the really high-end games. But otherwise, it does the job. They've put in what they need to put in to make it a smooth device. So this one is 64 gig and it cost me £669. Now this is where the next sort of, anger came from. To go up to 128 gig, you go up £100 to £769. To go up to the XL at 64 gig, you go to £829, and then another £100 to go up to the 128 gig, £929. So £929 with those specs that aren't as good as the big boys really upset people. And I do get that. I do get it, because £929 is a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie, that's part of the reason I thought I'm gonna go for the smaller device, because I don't want to throw over £800 at it for a device that I wasn't really sure about, if I'm honest, before I used it. And £669 is actually less than I've paid for most of my main devices for a long time. So I'll pay £300 for a phone that I'm pretty sure I'm just going to review and then move on from. But my Pixel 4, I was hoping this could be my main device. So £669, that's less than the £700 I paid for my OnePlus 7 Pro, I think. The Huawei Mate 20 Pro, I think, was £900. What were the other devices before that? The 2XL, the Note 9, sorry, I'm sure. Yeah, they're all north of 700 or 800, I think. So 669, that seemed, actually I can live with that. Yes, it's only 64 gig. I'm quite happy living in the cloud though. I don't mind that. That's a problem. Almost everywhere I am, I've got a signal, apart from the basement at work, which catches me out a couple of times, but very rarely. It does have stereo speakers. Let's give you a quick blast of those. We'll start with just podcast.
That also interfere with the absorption of iron from plant foods. Now, herbal tea is not a problem. High doses of calcium, especially calcium carbonate, and that's the form that's found in most supplements, can also block the absorption of iron. Now, you don't need to worry about...
And I have just pointed at this camera because the mic's on the top of that. And let's... a quick bit of music. Can't play much because YouTube will start taking my money from me. But yeah, they're actually pretty good. I remember when I think it was in the unboxing and I played the speakers and I was a little bit, I'd heard so much about them, and yeah. But actually now I've kind of got to used to them, not used to them even, just using them more. I don't know. They are pretty good actually. So listening to my podcasts, they're nice, loud and clear. Phone calls, nice, loud and clear. It's actually quite a rounded sound. And in fact, so on my test, they averaged 91.2 decibels, which is quite good. That's quite high. But strangely, it's quite even across sort of the voice and the music test that I do. So normally the music's quite a bit louder, the voice is a bit quieter, and the intro kind of middling. I think they were all 91 something. I forget, I'll have the graphic on the screen, you'll be able to see them, I can't remember. So that was kind of weird. But there's actually pretty good quality. For a phone speaker, you're not expecting it to, power your parties at the weekend. The haptic feedback is quite nice. It's possibly the first phone I've left the haptic feedback on the keyboard. So when you're typing it, normally, get rid of that straight away. But it's just got a really nice little, it works, it just works. Squeeze to get Google Assistant, that's back. I actually quite like that as well. I think I probably should use Google Assistant more. It is very good. And with the neural core being built in on this device, it can do a lot of the voice recognition on the device. And we're going to come to some of the perks of that when we get to software. Kind of obviously it has NFC, and I've mentioned Face ID already. Then of course the Soli. So Soli is the radar that's built into the top there, which allows us, we're going to have to go back into, Will Smith. So when Soli is active, which actually I can't see it right now, there should be a little glowing, or maybe I've got to play. So let's turn it, basically turn the music off. So I don't know if you can see that little glow at the top of the screen. Now it's going to be a little bit awkward because I don't want to whack the camera as I swim, because you do have to get a kind of the right speed and motion almost. If you do it a bit too slow, or even, because I saw people in videos doing this and I didn't find that as reliable as doing that. But again, you've got to get a bit of pace on it, otherwise it doesn't seem to do it, because you almost got to try and drag that glowing bit across the screen. So let's try it. Not move, there we go. And again, it's kind of, you've got to get the right angle. If you come sideways, that was almost up more than across. So I'm going to come across. So there was, and again, oh. That was almost like it lagged. It's just totally stopped now, look. There we go, we're back. So this, I think you're seeing here that it's not that reliable. It's weird. You could see the glowing bit getting bigger, almost like it was still thinking and processing stuff. So it's back to normal. I'll almost guarantee it works this time. And again, it looks okay. Is that a bit, see, that looks like it's pulsing. I'm not sure it'll work this time. No, it did. So it kind of, yeah, it works. I have used it a couple of times, I suppose. For me, the problem is that it's very limited. So I thought pretty much any media it's playing, I thought almost always you could have a, if I've got a Bluetooth controller in my car, whatever media is playing, I can skip forward and back. It just sends something to the device saying, skip forward, skip back. Soli doesn't kick in unless there's only certain apps playing, and they're all music players. So my big hope was that listening to a podcast of an evening when I'm laying in bed, that when an advert comes, I can literally just wave my hand over my phone and it skips forward 30 seconds, wave again, and I'm skipped past the advert. My podcast, well, it doesn't work with any podcast player, so I can't even change to a different podcast player to get it to work, because it is just limited apps that it works with at the moment. Hopefully, I think we're very early days. It feels like we're almost alpha stages of Soli. The demos they gave 5 years ago, the guy was doing things like, he was going up and down his hand or his finger to change the volume or something like that, and then you could twist and you could pin. It could recognise where all your different fingers were doing. We're just waving a big old hand across it. It feels like, what? How did 5 years ago you were saying you could do this and now we're just doing this? But I think because maybe it's just not reliable enough, maybe because the initial Soli was about the size of a, I don't know, A3 sheet of paper, and they've managed to get it down to, it is ridiculous really how they've managed to do that, but anyway. So it's early. It's not, I'm tempted to turn it off, but it does have the whole vicinity detection, I forget what you call it, but it can tell when you're near or away from your phone, and it kind of warms things up, so when you do lift it up, I couldn't turn it around quick enough. I'm already unlocked. So I leave it on because of that, I suppose. So then onto the screen. Probably the first thing people talk about is the forehead. Again, some people are really not keen on the forehead. I think I prefer it to the notch. If you look back to the Pixel 3 XL with that ridiculously massive big notch, I would rather half the depth but across the whole, which is kind of what we've got. And I've probably not got the best wallpaper to show you this, but I suppose you can see where the icons are, and then the forehead, and you can possibly in certain lights glimpse the all the different arrays of sensors, because there are quite a lot of sensors up there. That's why there is the forehead. I'm loving a flat screen again. I didn't realise, especially now there's gestures going back is swiping in from the side. The OnePlus 7 Pro, it just annoys me, that curved screen. It really does, and considering that you do quite a lot of swiping back each day, that's quite a lot of little annoyances, and I think it's things like that that are making me think I probably will stick with the Pixel 4, because I love having the nice flat screen that you can just swipe in, from the side to operate. So this particular one is 5.7-inch POLED. It's only actually 79.8% screen to body ratio, which is probably a little bit lower than last year's, I think, but I'm fine with that. It doesn't have to be all screen. I'm all right with that. It's 2280 by 1080, which is 19 by 9 ratio, and about 444 pixels per inch, which is very good. And I would say it does look really very good. Again, I probably should have put a nice colourful wallpaper on to show it off a bit better. And I'm in dark mode. But really very nice screen. I love the always on display. Again, something that I really missed from OnePlus. I don't quite know why they don't do it. I mean, I don't know. I love always on display though. And it's got a 90 hertz screen, which is as opposed to 60 hertz, which is basically a frames per second, if you didn't know. And it adjusts based on what you're doing and watching. So if it's of no use, it drops you down to 60. If it can make use of 90 hertz, then it goes up to the 90 hertz. Also, there's a little bit of controversy because it will drop down to 60 at the moment if the screen goes below 75% brightness. Now, some people, like Marcus Brownlee, MKBHD is a good example of someone that says he almost couldn't go back from a 90 hertz screen. I'm not entirely sure I can see the difference. I don't know if that makes me a bit stupid or makes me the wrong person to be reviewing phones, but I turn it off and I turn it on. I can't massively see the difference. You tell me, perhaps. It's quite bright, so it scored 645 lumens on my test, on my light meter. That's pretty good. I say pretty good. It is. It's above average, I think. So the screen, I would say, is one of the strengths. We're going to move on to the cameras. Now, I have done a whole separate video with lots of examples of photos, lots of videos, lots of different scenarios. So go and check that. I'll try and remember to pop it up in the corner if I remember. Go and have a look at that. But I will obviously show you some bits and pieces now, and we'll talk a little bit about the lenses. But I'll try and move quick because I'm aware this video, I've got a lot of notes on this phone as well. I realise I'm way up into 4 pages, so I'm going to take a long time, unfortunately. But hopefully that's why you're watching my videos. I like to be quite thorough if I can. So 2 lenses. A 12 megapixel f1.7 wide angle lens with optical image stabilization. A 16 megapixel f2.4 2x optical zoom with optical image stabilization. That's it. No ultra wide angle lens. And of all the criticism, this is probably the one that I kind of got on board with. I don't know why. In Made by Google event, they were trying to claim that it actually people use zoom more than ultra wide angle. I don't know how they know that. I don't think they've put an ultra wide angle on any of their. So I often think that Google could probably tell everything that we're doing. So when they say people don't use this, they've probably got all the stats to back it up, and they're probably doing things. When volume now changes media volume to ring volume, they're probably looking at stats saying, 96% of the time people are changing the media volume, not ring volume. So they make the change. They've not had an ultra wide angle lens. How do they know people don't use it? They're just making an assumption. It's a little bit Apple-like, really. No, we know you're going to prefer this. No, don't do that. Listen to the people. All the people are saying, where's the ultra wide angle? It's too late now, and to be fair, I've not massively missed it in the week or so that I've been using this phone. It's not really come up. There have been a couple of times, I think, where I've thought, that would have been easy if I had an ultra wide angle lens. Anyway, so the front-facing camera, not that we can see it particularly there, is 8 megapixel f2 wide angle, and it is quite a wide angle. You get some nice, I think, better shots, better selfies, if you like taking selfies like me. But you get more in, because that is, your arm's only a certain length, isn't it? You can't get much further away. So when it only gets just you and you've got your mates or whatever. So it is good. I think they say it's 90 degree, which doesn't sound a lot when I think of lenses, I'm sure. Anyway, but it's pretty wide. So for me, the camera with a Pixel, it's all about sort of consistency and reliability in the different conditions. So most phones, even mid-range phones in good conditions, will take a good picture, and you probably would struggle to tell the difference between a Pixel and, I don't know, some £400 Xiaomi phone or whatever else in good conditions. But then as things start getting darker or the conditions just get harder, I think that's where the Pixels come through. So generally, there's nice strong colours. They're generally very sharp. They just look good images. They made quite a big deal, and I can kind of see why and kind of agree with some of the features they put into the cameras that happen in the background that you perhaps don't know, and some that you do control. So for example, something to control dual exposure. I love this idea. So previously, you point your camera at your phone at someone, and you might tap somewhere to make it check the exposure for that particular point. So if you've got a bright sky on a person, the person looks all shadowed out and the sky's really bright. So you tap on the person and it adjusts the exposure so that you can see the detail in the person. But then the whole sky is blown out. It's just really bright white and you see no detail at all. The idea now, you tap the person And you get to control the shadows, the person, make it lighter or darker, and you get to control the sky, the highlights, lighter or darker. So you can kind of do a bit of tweaking. I've not used it a massive amount. I've used it a couple of times, and I really like it. I think it could have it gives you more artistic opportunity to do straight from your phone in real time. So previously, you could take a photo, you could go to Photoshop and do that, if you've got Photoshop and you know how. But now you can do it straight off in the phone, which I think is great. AI white balance, I've not really had a chance to test that. Although I suppose I was in the restaurant a couple of days ago and I remember pointing my camera at my food, as you do, you kind of have to, don't you? And it was all a bit orangey, and very quickly it just changed it all so the plate was nice and white and the food all looked great. Now, to be fair, that might be just regular white balance that's going on, but the example they gave in Made by Google was you're in like an aquarium, everything's blue, you take a picture of a person, their face looks blue. The AI will realise, hang on, that's a face, that's not supposed to be blue, and it'll adjust the white balance and it'll make them the right colour, hopefully. I've not had a chance to test it, but it sounds like a really good idea. Then we've got super zoom. So the idea being, we've got the regular lens, we've got a 2x lens. You can zoom in up to 8 times though, and it uses the slight movements to be able to kind of almost fill in the gaps, I think, and it still gives you like a couple of megapixel picture from quite a distance at 8 times zoom. They're not great. If you pixel peep, if you zoom in on them, some of them don't look so good. In fact, strangely, it looks better on kind of sharper contrast. If there's, like I took a photo of white chalk text on a chalkboard, that looked really good at a zoomed 8 times. Whereas the picture I took of the squirrel or something, I think, was a little bit of an oil painting look when you really zoomed in on it. I quite like the camera gestures. Just when you've taken a photo, you get a sort of quick share option. You can also set it to recognize frequent faces and sort of prioritize them or something along those lines. It can take RAW. It's still got top shot. You have to have motion turned on the camera. But if you do, when you take a picture of somebody, if they happen to blink as you take the picture, it's got photos before and it's got photos after, and it kind of goes, do you want to pick out a better one? In fact, we think this one's better. And it gives you, so I mean, I was trying it myself. I was turning away and then taking a picture. And it was going, it basically said, we've got a better one. And then it would have me just there looking before I pressed the shutter. So I actually really like that. I've never had a chance to use that before. I think came on the Pixel 3. So I'm really looking forward to using that. It does only have 4K at 30 frames per second on the main lens on the back of the camera for video. So it's missing 60 frames per second, which again, a lot of people, how can you be paying this much money and not have 60 frames per second? Which I get, because when I bought this camera that I'm talking to now, one of the reasons was my Canon couldn't do 60 frames per second. In actuality, I'm coming back to most of this footage is in 30. I don't know that I need 60. At the same time, I wanted to have that option to be able to do that, and the Pixel 4 can't. And in fact, the video generally, they've spent a lot of time working on stills. They've not really paid much attention to video. It's quite widely accepted that the iPhones own the video space at this point, and I can't really argue that case, which is a shame because I do love video. I'm making videos. So that is a massive shame. But the stills are great. The stills really are good, consistently good as well. I think that's the key. Obviously, we've also got things like night sight. That's not particularly new. That's still performing really well. But they've also thrown in astrophotography, which was not something particularly I thought I was interested in. And I'm not, I suppose. But at the same time, it's quite fun to try because it's quite simple. Having said that, it's simple, but you need a tripod. So you can't just stand there, but I'm going to take pictures of the stars and hit the button, because the exposure is going to be almost 3 minutes. I think 2 minutes 50 when it does it. But it knows, that's the thing. So if you have got a tripod and you point at the sky, you do then just go to night sight and hit the shutter, and it goes, we're taking pictures of the stars. I'll set my exposure for 2 minutes 50, and it goes through. I don't even know how it does it, but it is pretty clever. I've had a couple of photos that look pretty good. So we move on to software. Obviously, it's quite a big selling point of a Pixel device. Stock Android, so obviously it's running version 10, and it's going to get updates pretty prompt for the next few years at least. I quite like that they've made things a bit more customizable in Android 10. So you can change fonts. Oopsie, why have I done that? You can change fonts, you can change icons, shape, colors, icons themselves, all sorts, which I really quite like. So you can sort of design things a bit more to how you want them to be. The launcher, Pixel's stock launcher, is nice, but it just doesn't hold widgets properly for me. My Beyond Pod widget looks ridiculous. So I have had to go back to Nova Launcher, but I think most people switch to a custom launcher. You don't have to. The stock launcher is actually quite good. So some things that they've thrown in Android 10 and with the Pixel 4 that I quite like. One is the Record app, which is the voice memo app. So I start recording now. It's listening to me, but it's also live transcribing everything that I say. When you pause and start again, it puts the punctuation in, all that sort of thing, which is really quite clever. Afterwards, we can also search. If I say the word turtle, and then I'm going to search for it. So I save that. And I search for... It says there it is. And we can press play. Oh no, so we can go to it. Oh, my volume's still down, but the bit that's highlighted, look. Turtle. And then I'm going to search for it. And we can then still see the transcript with the search word highlighted. I think that could be mega useful for some people. I love it. I'm trying to figure out how I can make use of it. I just think maybe at meetings at work, if people don't mind being recorded, that's the problem. The fact it transcribes everything for you could be so useful. What it doesn't do is differentiate between different voices. That's got to be coming at some point. And when I say some point, it might be 2 or 3 years away. But can you imagine how amazing that would be? If you have a meeting, you pop in the middle and say, guys, I'm just going to record just so you know. And then afterwards, you can see person, I mean, obviously you don't need to name them, but person A, person B, person C said this, person D said this, person A then replied, and you can see all that in transcript. I think that'd be fantastic. Live captioning as well. So what can we find? Oh, I know what we should do. So I went to just like, basically it's a TV. So, and then I've pressed the volume. In fact, I'm going to bring the volume down a bit. You see that button there at the side is live captioning. So this is not subtitles. This is actually the phone hearing the person's voice and transcribing and giving you the words. You can move that around the screen if you prefer somewhere else, or we drag off the bottom to get rid of it. I think that's pretty amazing. Again, how much use is it to me? I'm not sure. I'm not sure at this point. I think actually it could be, there are some times where I can't perhaps hear what's going on my phone. And if I can just turn that on, I can read it instead. That could be really handy. I think it's really clever. And I think, again, it's partly to the based on the neural core in this phone, being able to process voices that quickly, to be able to transcribe it in real time like that. I mean, it is amazing, really, I think. Dark mode, I think, looks very good. Previously, there have been complaints that it doesn't particularly work all that well. Lots of apps don't support it. But most of the apps I use now these days, even so TikTok, which isn't a Google one, that does. The live wallpapers are quite clever. So the live wallpapers you get with the device, they will change with the dark mode. Gmail, Calendar, Google Feed. Google Drive, I've got there not Google Drive, but I'm sure it did. I'm sure today I was in there and it was dark. If we turn dark mode off, see that's got a light color. It's got a light color. I don't know if I opened anything else up. It's got a light color. So I do like that. I think dark mode works. I like having the now playing back. So I'm sitting there at the dining room and you put on a notification bar, it tells you what's on the radio. I like that sort of thing. I had a bit of an issue with notifications on the lock screen. It was saying that in Android 10 they changed. And actually what it boiled down to cut a long story short, with Face Unlock, if you have skip lock screen enabled, that means when you look at it and it unlocks, it will go straight to whatever you were last in, be it your home screen, be it Dropbox, be it Google Music, whatever. But because of that, you can't read notifications on the lock screen, because what it would basically do, it would try and show you a notification, just as you're reading it, it's gone already. And they were just saying that's just a bad experience, which I kind of get. So in that case, you just get some icons. So turn off skip lock screen, and then I'm going to turn it on, and we're looking at the lock screen. It's unlocked, but I'm still on the lock screen. I swipe up, and I'm into the actual home screen. What that means, it slows, throws an extra step in there, but what it means is when it unlocks, you can still read your notifications, because a lot of the time that's all I'm doing. I have a quick press of the button, see what's that notification? Oh, dismiss, or even reply, whatever. And it really bugged me. I've only figured this bit out today. And it really bugged me that I couldn't see my notifications. You can press the power. If it doesn't see you, you still swipe down. So if it's on the desk, you can swipe the notification bar down and read the notifications and operate it. But I quite like just being able to press the power and see them. So turn off, skip, lock screen to be able to do that. Oh yeah, there's a safety app. So about 10 to 6 one morning, I'd woke up a bit early and I'm playing with the device. And I thought, what's this safety? I tapped that. And it's basically all about just putting in your details, putting in some sort of trusted people or family members or whatever that would be alerted if you ever had an accident. You're supposed to put in things like allergies and blood type, and I put all the bits in that I knew. And it got to the point of, right, set up who you're going to send message. Okay, well, my mum and my brother, I guess. And I think I then pressed like send. I think it probably did say send message or something like that, but I thought I was just moving on to the next step. And then I pressed it. Oh wait, sent what? And then it said like a little toast message. And I said, "Yeah, message sent." Whoa, no! Oh my god, it's like 10 to 6 in the morning. And my family now think I've been in a car accident or something. So I had to message them real quick. Ignore that last message. Sorry, setting something up on the new phone. So I don't do that. But yeah, I don't think I've seen that before. It may have been. It may have been on Pixel 3 because I didn't have that as a main device. I wouldn't have seen. Right, then we're going to move on to the battery. Battery. 2800 milliamp hour LiPo non-removable battery. This was perhaps the other area where everyone else kind of went, whoa, wait, what? So I sort of went, ooh, So before we move on to that, let me give you the actual sort of facts of things. So it's also 18 watts fast charging, only 18 watts fast charging. 30 minutes gives you 44%. In an hour, I got about 76. The last 10% took like 40 minutes, so it really slows down as the battery's filling, which is probably for the best. That's probably for its battery's health. We have got wireless charging, which I haven't had for a little while now. So I'm really enjoying that again. And it will fast charge on a third-party 11-watt charger, which it wouldn't do on the Pixel 3 because they basically said, no, it needs to fit these particular criteria. But they have now sort of withdrawn that and said, yeah, anyone's fast charger is fine. So that's great news. Now, it scored 92% on my test, which is an hour-long test, playing a video for almost 40 minutes, then just reloading Twitter, screen on all the time. 92, that's not bad. It's kind of middle of the pack. It's not horrific, which I almost was expecting it to be. But then I would say, go and watch the video I uploaded a couple of days ago. It's something like living with my Pixel 4 battery or something like that. And it's one of my vlog videos. It's quite long, and I will give you the summary, don't worry. But basically, the summary is, yeah, the battery, it's not great. I mean, there were days I would run out before 10 hours. Now, I was hammering the phone. I was using it almost non-stop, and I was doing some bits like some sat-naving. I was taking lots of photos, which are getting uploaded to Dropbox and Google Photos in the background. I was tracking myself jogging, you know, all pretty intensive things. So it wasn't a massive surprise that it burnt out in less than 10 hours. But strangely, I charged it back up again, and I lost 40% in the next 4 hours when medium use, a few photos, a few videos, a little bit of gaming. I think you need to accept you're going to have to top up. If this is going to be your phone, you're going to have to top up. And that's not really a problem for me at work. There's quite a few times I'm at the desk and I can just put it in a wireless charger. I did it today. So what are we at now? I'm at 33% now. Came off charge at 7:30 this morning. So we're at 13 hours. But I put it on charge for about 35 minutes and it charged driving home for about 10 minutes on wireless. So I've boosted up about 23, 24%. I'm at 33% now. I'm okay with that. If you know you're going out, you might want to take a battery with you or get it charged up before you go out. It's not a battery beast. You're not going to be able to just rampage through the night and it's going to crack on. So I think that's kind of, as long as you're aware going in, it is what it is almost. So there's so many things wrong with this phone. You know, we've been through them. The battery, it's only the 855 chipset. There's only 6 gig of RAM. There's not much onboard storage. There's no ultra-wide lens. But it comes together, for me, as just a lovely user experience. I'm really enjoying the small form factor again, which could be swaying me a little bit. I also realised, so a year ago I was using big chunky phones. A year ago, I was big and chunky. If this is the first video you've watched of mine, I've lost a lot of weight this year, basically. I literally only realised that 10 minutes before I started recording. Oh yeah, it's a bit of a simile, if that's the right word. And I think I probably will keep using the Pixel 4 over my OnePlus 7 Pro. Like I say, for me, it's just a nicer user experience. The battery is the one thing. If I could change one thing, I would increase the battery life by like 50%, and then I'd be happy as Larry. As it is, I just need to remember to keep popping it on charge and things if I'm going to have a longer day. But I think I will keep it over the OnePlus 7 Pro because I love the camera, I love the beautiful flat screen, I love the always-on display, I love the gorgeous design. I think it looks amazing. Obviously, it's got a slick and fluid UI because it's a Pixel device, and I'm actually really enjoying the face unlock. I don't like in-screen fingerprint readers, so I'm not a massive fan of OnePlus 7 Pro's in-screen fingerprint reader, and face unlock is working pretty much flawlessly. So all in all, I'm enjoying it. I like the phone. I'm probably going to stick with it. I totally understand those that are going to say it's not good enough hardware for the price that you pay. Again, for me, it's about the experience, and it's a really good user experience. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also comment down below if you realised and appreciated the colour coordination I've gone for with the phone, my top and the lights. I hope you realised that. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Check out some of the videos. Like I say, you want to see that battery video probably. I've done a camera video. I had some other thoughts on the Pixel 4 and other videos. But subscribe, check videos out. Leave me a comment down below. I promise I'll read them all. But for now, my name's Andy. I'll catch you all again soon.